Following this afternoon's vote, we spoke with some of Georgia's members of Congress. Doug Richards is live at the state capitol with more. Doug?
Yes, it was, as you reported, mostly a party line vote. And this afternoon, we talked with Congressman Buddy Carter of Savannah. And then a few minutes ago, we talked with Democrat Carolyn Bourdeaux of Sewanee, who discussed a little bit what she saw as some of the evidence of the president's alleged complicity in the events last week.
When the mob had attacked the Capitol, was inside the Capitol, was threatening the Speaker and the Vice President, there was a plea that went to the president to deploy the National Guard, and he turned them down. He failed to defend the Capitol. So that suggests to me that he was in on it.
Instead of trying to bring our country together, which is what we need to be doing right now, the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi instead are just fanning the flames and putting salt in the wound by introducing this impeachment, article of impeachment. And it really is a sad day.
Do you think President Trump's hands are clean in the insurrection that happened last week?
Well, look, people have to be responsible for their own actions. It's what we teach our children, is that actions have consequences. And certainly the president's comments have impact, and we all know that, and I'm sure he knows that. I don't think the president wanted this to happen. I don't think that was his desire, but his intentions, none of us can say what his intentions were.
Even after the insurrection took place last week, you continued to challenge the electoral results. Do you have any regrets about that?
None whatsoever. Look, you have to separate these two issues. I represented my citizens, my constituents in my vote, because they don't believe that we have the election integrity we need to have in the state of Georgia.
Congressman Carter told me that he believes that President Trump basically needs to be able to exit the office cleanly when the time comes next week. Back to you, Cheryl.
Doug, I'm curious, in conversations I know you had with many Georgia representatives throughout the course of the day, did any of them talk about concerns about the upcoming week and even beyond of more violence, either at the U.S. Capitol or at state capitals like the one here in Atlanta?
Well, they've certainly taken notice at the state capitol here, at least, of additional security concerns, and folks posted in battle fatigues, holding long guns, and other additional measures taken around the Capitol here. It's not really a pervasive concern, however. I think a lot of folks are just hoping that they are over-preparing.
All right, Doug. And we do want to mention that we have posted more reactions to today's impeachment vote from Georgia lawmakers on 11alive.com.